Words cannot describe how upset I am right now. Now you might be asking yourself, why? Why are you upset? Is it because you're in an entirely new location? Because the house that you're supposed to be staying at is still under construction and your room has no AC and the stairs that you have to get to go up to your stairs is completely undone and is basically just a couple of wooden panels? No. Kind of, but no. Temporary apartment situation aside, that's not why I'm upset. What I'm upset about is this game. Garten of BanBan. This game series is just an entire roller coaster, and I want to talk about it, and it's important that you stick around till the end because it's a much bigger problem than you think. So let's begin. Garten of BanBan. I actually played this game a couple months ago, and it did very well on my channel, surprisingly well on my channel, and I actually enjoyed it. I didn't hate the game. It was an okay game. It wasn't polished though. It wasn't like a Five Nights at Freddy's or like a Poppy's Playtime, which is what I assume it's inspired by. It was still very clinky. It was not polished. There were literally parts of the game that were unpolished and were just very bricky. But at the end of the day, I enjoyed it. It was an okay game, it was an okay demo, and that was that, and I really didn't give much thought to it, only for me to realize that there was already a sequel out, but this time, it cost money, and me being a broke college student, of course I didn't pay for it. Why would I? I'm a man who enjoys free stuff. Why would I pay money? And then days and weeks passed and I really didn't give a second thought to it. And that was that. But in these more recent weeks, I've started to take a notice to the Garten of BanBan series again. And I realized that they didn't only make a second game, but they made a third, they made a fourth, and now they're in the beginning phases to making a fifth. What? So why am I upset about this? Why am I upset about the fact that this game company is making another game, and then another game, and another game? It's the fact that these games are being made so close together. When the original game, the original demo, didn't really have much polishing. And looking at the games that came after that, they are nothing like the demo. And that's kind of a main problem that I think is much bigger than this game franchise. The demo for Garten of BanBan was about 20 minutes or so, and it gave a really good foundation to the potential of the game, or the potential of the game series that were going to come out after that. The thing is, though, the actual games were not like the demo, and as each game progressed, which were about hour-long games, they just kind of went down a very strange rabbit hole with a very strange lore, voice acting, and it basically did an entire 180 from the original demo. And that's kind of a problem that I've seen in a lot of games now that have come out, especially horror games. And if you're looking for examples, I can name a couple off the top of my head. Poppy's Playtime, I think, took a very similar type of turn. I haven't really heard much from Poppy's Playtime either, which is very strange because it was a very big phenomenon once the first chapter or demo came out, but in recent months I really haven't heard much out of that game. And in all likelihood, Poppy's Playtime likely inspired Garten of BanBan just because of how similar they are in terms of the aesthetic and in terms of like the childhood creepiness to it. And sure, you can make the case that that's all inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's, but you know, Five Nights at Freddy's, I already went over that in that video right there. But Poppy's Playtime is not the only example of this thing happening. Do you remember Hello Neighbor? Did I just give you a wave of nostalgia by saying Hello Neighbor? This game was all over the place, but it had so much hype behind it because of the unknown lore behind it that made people start guessing, what is the story to this game? What's behind the door? And it's a very good way to get people to start playing your games. However, as the years went by and by, update after update, the game just ended up being a big puddle of nothing, a nothing pie, which made people very quickly start losing interest in the game. One of the reasons why is because as the updates went along, it became very different from the demo. Same thing happened with Poppy Playtime, and the same thing definitely happened with Garten of BanBan. And I suppose that's the main issue I want to get into, and that's with demos. Demos are an amazing thing. Demos are a good way to introduce your game without putting a whole load of effort into something only for it to fall flat on its face. It's a good way to give people a taste of what you have the capability of making. But the thing is though, demos are like a double-edged sword, because they can do great good and they can do a lot of harm. And one of the ways that they can do a lot of harm is the fact that the demos can sometimes vary from the end result of the game that you're currently making. And that can happen in really two ways. The first way is that you have the idea of the game in your head and you create this demo to try to give people a taste, and then you end up failing at giving a really good representation of what the game is like. Demos are typically very short. You can't pack everything into like a couple-minute game. So sometimes after you play a demo, you get excited for a game, and then you play the full game and you realize that the full game is nothing like the demo. And this is really hard to kind of combat, because you can't put everything into a demo without it being too much. So it's a very fine balance of trying to figure out how to get people interested in the game and also representing it without giving away everything. And the second way that demos are a double-edged sword, sometimes people make demos and they have no idea where they're going. They have this concept for a game, and so they make the demo, people end up liking the demo, and then after that, you have to make a game because people obviously like it. People are interested in it. But you don't know what you're doing. You don't know the direction that you want the game to go. And sometimes people in a rush trying to get something out there start to cut corners, will start to be sloppy, and at the end, they make a game that is completely different than the demo that they provided to people. And I personally think, and I have no way to prove this, but I think that Garten Of BanBan took this second approach because it seems like the story kind of went all over the place after the demo, which really didn't have a story. It was very vague, which kind of had a sort of appeal to it. But at the same time, at the time that I played Garten Of BanBan, the demo version, the first version, they already had Garten Of BanBan 2. So it's kind of hard to tell at times. I played the game kind of late, so that just might be me. But the fact is, Garten Of BanBan kind of became its own monster. And now with a 5th game on the way, it's going to be very interesting to see where this is going to go. I think it's very obvious, though, that they anticipated that this game was going to be a giant phenomenon like Five Nights at Freddy's. But the thing is, though, is that they put so much effort into producing it in a very quick manner that they really kind of looked over quality. They looked at quantity over quality. That's why we have 5 games within the span of a year, I think. I think it's only been 1 year and we have 5 games coming out. You see, that's a pace that would put Five Nights at Freddy's to shame. To absolute shame. The thing is, though, is that they don't polish it. They don't put a lot of thought into the lore, into the dialogue, and so that kind of makes for a lackluster game. And I don't mean to be mean, because I think it's a good-ish game. Like the first game, as I said, I really enjoyed it. And they obviously put a lot of effort into this game, because it's pretty big environments in that game. The thing is, though, is that they put so much emphasis on the quantity over the quality that it ended up kind of ruining the entire thing. And now it's kind of an unfortunate situation where people play Garten Of BanBan as sort of a joke, rather than an actual, fully functioning game. And that's just kind of the unfortunate truth of it. And there's really no way to put the cat back in the bag. There's nothing you can do. At the end of the day, I think Garten Of BanBan is going to take a very similar approach to Hello Neighbor, where they have all this hype over the game with constant versions and updates coming out very frequently. But once the final result is done and as the years go by, and not a whole lot of years either, after a couple years go by, I think the game is going to become mostly forgotten. And that's just because of how the game was made and what priorities over the game were made. And honestly, I think it's already on the way out because people don't really talk about Garten Of BanBan anymore. Some people stream it, but you know, it obviously doesn't have the hype that it once had. So to Hello Neighbor, to Poppy's Playtime probably, and to Garten Of BanBan, I salute you. You had a good run, but it's time to put up the jersey. But that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, if indeed you still are. My name is Brockster, and I bid you all adieu.